February 4th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting. First item on the agenda is the meeting minutes dated January 7th, 2025.
I have no comments.
No comments? Motion to approve them?
I'll make it. A second.
Second. All right, all those, any public comment?
No public comment.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, aye. Motion approved. Next item of business is the sketch plan for Delaware County Christian School, 905 South Waterloo Road.
Great, so I'll go ahead and start us off. My name is Dan Steinfield, head of school at Delaware County Christian School. Great to see you again. Thank you for allowing us to be here this evening. And we are grateful, one, to be a part of this community. We love being a part of the community, really enjoy the opportunity to be a positive member of the community. And so that's partly what brings us here tonight. We have some sketch plans that we want to introduce for some projects that we see coming both this year and also in 2026. And these are projects that will really enhance our current facility to be able to serve our current families, our current students and parents. So the first one that you'll see will be a picnic pavilion. It maximizes the use of our outdoor education program and our summer camp program. And then the second one would be some gym renovations. And again, these are really just improvements to the facility to enable us to really meet the quality that our school families are looking for and that we want to deliver for them. And we also think these projects will further beautify the property. And we know that a lot of our neighbors utilize that property after hours, and we welcome that and enjoy seeing that. And so I think there'll be an overall benefit to everyone in doing that. So with that quick introduction, I'm going to turn it over to Greg, who's going to share a little more detail about the project itself.
So we've got two Gregs. Hi, folks. I'm Greg Davis with the Saul Ewing Law Firm, Greg Toro with Anchor Management, Michael Boker with Apex Engineering. So know a little bit about the project. We've got a PowerPoint keyed up. I don't know if you've gone through that. If you want to go through that, maybe that's the best way to introduce the project, is to go through real quickly, starting with the overhead, the aerial view, and then sort of we'll focus in on the site and show you what we're proposing. And then, of course, we have review letters and we can go through those or answer any questions that you may have along the way. So unless there are any preliminary questions for us, Greg, are you going to take us through the PowerPoint? Or Mike, you're going to take us through the PowerPoint? Mike is? Okay. Let's do that.
So this first slide is just kind of an vicinity plan showing the campus outlined in red. The campus is just under 24 acres in size. Most of the development on campus, you can see, is centralized to the campus with some athletic fields to the south and quite a wooded buffer around most of the buildings on the campus, either on this site or adjacent to the site. The site does front Waterloo Road up the top. You remember, I think it was about 2 years ago they did the baseball fields, right? Wrapped up and completed that work.
Mm-hmm.
So we can go on to the next slide.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. This is just a little closer view of the campus. If you see, there's two areas outlined in red where these projects are slated to occur. The one to the south is where the pavilion would be located. Be located in between a playground on the right and the pool on the left. It's about a 2,400 square foot pavilion that's planned there. We have to relocate a walk on the upper side around this work and install a small retaining wall on one side just to level off the area for the pavilion. Above that, on the end of one of the buildings, we're looking at a couple of different additions that are really joined on kind of the northwest side of that building. There's a one-story addition, which I believe is for a stage for the school. And on what would be the south side of that building, it's already a one-story piece there. They're looking to add a second story on that. Structurally, we don't know yet if we have to take that down to the foundation and build up, but it's really just adding one story to an already existing one story to make it a second story. Next, these are those areas that we talked about. Hatched below where the pavilion is going to go, there is a large sandbox that will be taken out, and the portion of the walk that will be relocated is hatched in red in that area. And then where the building additions are going, you can see the large area hatched along the side of that building is that 1-story portion of the building that will become 2 stories. And got to rework one of the retaining walls just above that on the northwest side of the building. And there's a egress door there that the pad will come out as well. Very limited work areas as far as demolition goes. Go to the next one. And this slide shows those improvements that we've been talking about. You can see to the south is the pavilion, shaded in brown with a retaining wall around the left side and bottom of that. Each of these projects will have their own independent stormwater management system so that we can control the limited runoff lakes. Each area is, as far as new and impervious, we're just over 4,000 square feet total between both projects. And then on the top, you see we're wrapping that side, kind of the south and west side up to the north of that building. The 1-story stage on the northwestern side and the 2nd-story addition along the south side of that building. And this is a conceptual rendering of what that pavilion would look like. You can see the baseball field in the background. The pool would be just to the right of that. And you can see the retaining wall with a railing extending along the side and back of that area to level it off next to the existing basketball court. And just another view of the scene. That's the summary of the improvements. Any questions?
What is the 2nd story being used for? The addition of the 2nd story.
The school's still going through planning, but Dan can probably talk.
Yeah, so we're still planning internally, but we need some additional office space where we would be able to do maybe instrumental lessons. The IU comes out to our facility. So that 1st floor area right now is all storage. So if we could do a 2nd floor, we might be able to relocate the storage up and then reclaim the downstairs space for some additional small, I wouldn't call them classrooms, but small office areas.
Okay. Accessory.
Yeah, accessory, yeah.
Just so everybody is aware, if anybody has any questions for the consultants, they're all available online. Okay,
So Colleen, is this an official submission? 'Cause it
no,
says
this is a sketch plan,
sketch plan.
so it's just feedback. It was submitted as a sketch plan and they requested township consultant review. So they will have to come back with an official land development application.
All right, yeah, I know there were a lot of questions on that. It's probably because it is a sketch plan. I mean, there was a question about what is the actual square footage? I think you answered it's 4,000, I guess.
That's the square footage of impervious increase.
Okay,
I think the discrepancy or confusion comes in that we're just adding 1 story above the 1 piece. So that may have been where it led to the confusion. But we'll certainly straighten all that out on the preliminary submission.
okay.
Is there any increase in enrollment?
It's a great question. So no, none of this would increase our enrollment. This is strictly to serve our current school families and our current student base and student population.
There's no plumbing or water sewer needed for the pavilion?
Yeah, no, and for the gym additions as well, we don't see any additional
No
plumbing or
additional
sewage, right?
restrooms or anything?
Right.
No additional.
Would there be increase in faculty or staff?
No, none of this changes our student body count or our faculty or staff count. Great questions, but a lot of this is designed, the gym as an example, you saw a stage. We're already in there year round doing programs and doing events. The space is inadequate as it is now. So this is really just upgrading to enhance and to handle our current programming. So there's no increase to the student body or staff counts.
So this may be a question for Chris, our traffic consultant, or even Tom. It looks like you guys just went over the threshold and requiring a traffic study. Is that still required if there's no increase in trips, I guess? I know, Chris, I don't know if you can answer.
Yeah, Nick, I missed part of that question, but based on the information that's been presented this evening, in our review letter, we noted that technically the square footage of the development triggers the need for a traffic study, but we were not entirely clear in our comment that a study would be needed, but rather we were asking for additional information. I think if the applicant were to submit additional information with land development, share some of the information that was presented this evening, indicating that there's no increase in enrollment, no increase in faculty or staff, then I honestly can't see a reason why a traffic study would be required. Does
So
that make sense?
This project's obviously gonna increase the impervious. And you have that zoning board decision from 2009, where you have a higher limited amount of impervious. That decision said that it extended the township's requirement, from 6 months to 5 years to build that out, right? Are they still permitted to build that in? Is that additional impervious that they haven't yet built? Is that still something that they can build? Or is that something they have to go back still zoning to get?
Yeah, I didn't look at the decision, but if it says it's good for 5, when was that decision entered?
2000. Yeah, from the 2009.
So like the civil plan says. Well, that's a decision we'll have to make. I can't answer it as I sit here right now, but township will have to make decisions.
So they'd have to go for zoning again to get that additional impervious.
They might have to.
Right. And I would just note that that said that one of the conditions also was that none of the proposed improvements are permitted to involve a building design for occupancy. So that's something, I guess you're probably gonna have to address with the zoning board. As you said, I think this is a great project. I think you guys are a great, asset to the township. As long as the plans, you know, take care of all the stormwater, meet the stormwater requirements, and, you know, I think you're building, you know, you're not building anything outrageous or anything like that, you know, this is a natural, well thought out, plan to accommodate, you know, your needs, so I would have no problem recommending this, for approval.
Yeah.
You just don't have to take, I guess, you just gotta take care of that zoning stuff.
Mhm.
And that's how I feel about it. Anybody else, any thoughts?
I didn't see any issues with it. I mean, didn't seem like you're doing all that much.
No.
So.
You're pretty far from neighbors. Have you talked to any of the neighbors?
Yeah, we have a good relationship with the neighbors that are right on the one side of us there and keep an open communication with them. When we did the baseball field, we had conversations with them. We wanted to come and get feedback from you first in this meeting, but we will likely in the next 2 weeks send a letter out to the neighbors, letting them know that we're thinking about these projects. We've had an initial meeting with you. So, we don't anticipate any concerns from the neighbors on these 2 projects.
And the stormwater management systems you have in place now are adequate? I mean, you don't have evidence of runoff or, you know, things creating gullies or anything like that?
No, yeah, the systems right there.
You had to do something for repairing.
I think the consultants indicated once they file a land development plan, they'll be able to make a determination whether there's any riparian buffer concerns. So this is only a sketch.
Yeah, so you'll handle that accordingly. Then.
That's right.
Somebody,
How many students are in your school?
So we are 920 students right now, pre-K 2 through 12.
Okay.
That's the 2 campuses. We have the other campus, remember, that's in Newtown Square, sits at 462 Malin Road and Goshen Road.
Okay.
And it splits pretty evenly. I'd have to double check the numbers, but that number splits pretty evenly. The lower campus is probably somewhere around 430 kids, and that's pre-K 2 through 5th grade on that campus.
At this location?
At this location that we're
Okay.
talking about, yeah.
Any comment?
Yeah, I would just, one, disclose that Delaware County Christian School is a client of my company, so, just acknowledge that, but, that said, fantastic people to work for, I think they're great neighbors. Appreciate you guys coming with a sketch plan for our feedback. I don't like I said, I don't have anything really material what we see here. Most of the consultant review letters were just the standard stuff looking for more information that'll come with the submission, so I don't have anything to add, but did just want to throw that out there, that I'll probably recuse myself from any formal vote on the application.
So you're not looking for any votes or anything like that, you're just looking for feedback?
Yeah, just, I think we really enjoy our relationship with you, and tonight was just an initial look at your feedback. Great.
I have one more question regarding the riparian buffer. I don't know, maybe Bradley can answer that, or is there a place that you can put where it could potentially not be impacts? That's not my realm of expertise, but I'm assuming you looked at everything.
In terms of other locations that we could put these facilities or these, yeah, these are for the picnic pavilion, that's an ideal location. It actually will beautify that space actually and improve it. And then the gym is a natural assembly area, and so it's a natural to renovate that and improve it. So we've kind of, we run a lot of committees, and we run a lot of what is the best way to maximize the use of our space, and we really believe as a community this is the best move to make.
Okay.
CC, anything else?
Have anything?
Colleen, is there any public comment or
No public comment.
anybody else? Yes.
Hi, I'm Margaret D'Alessandro, 610 Clovelly, Devon. I just had a question. Will the pavilion require any additional outside lighting? And also, is there any intention that it could be used as a revenue center, for example, for use as a rental facility?
So I'll answer the second question. I'll let you guys are designing it. I'll let you speak to the lighting. You know, in terms of a revenue center, no, we don't necessarily see it being a revenue center. Would you have, you know, a handful of times a year, a small group might want to use it for, in our case, it's usually church groups, maybe. But our school life is so robust between summer camp and between school programs. There's really no window. There's not really a lot of opportunity to offer it to outside groups.
Thank you. And lighting.
Lighting?
There won't be any exterior lighting. We plan on a few lights under the roof to illuminate the space within, but nothing on the exterior. So it'll be covered by the gabled ends and the roof pitch.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Dwyer, is there a copy of that zoning hearing board decision floating around that I could? Or is that-
Yeah, you can shoot me an email and I'll send it to you.
Thank you.
Great. You got it. Comment can happen?
Yes,
Thank you.
that was Stacy's copy.
Thank you, Stacy.
Yeah.
We can return it if you.
Yeah.
We can actually print another.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Good to see you guys.
Yeah, good to see you as well.
Good luck.
That's all.
Next item on the agenda is 113, land development 113-604 Lancaster Planning Module Component 4A.
Obviously, I am not voting on that, although I think it's a great plan.
All right. Hi, everyone. This is Brady, the township engineer. In your meeting packet should be a memo from my office dated January 15th, 2025. So this is very straightforward and simple. The boot shop project received approval, conditional approval from the supervisors on September 16th of 2024. This obviously appeared in front of you as the planning commission before that. One of the conditions of approval is to get sewage facilities planning module approval. We're at a point in the process where we are moving this forward through the process for signatures. One of the action items is that component 4A of the module package needs to be acted upon by the Township Planning Commission. So our office has taken the liberty of filling out component 4A, and it should be that way in your meeting packets. The requested motion / action is to consider a motion approving component 4A as presented and authorizing the Township Planning Commission chairperson to complete section B and complete, sign, and date section C.17 of component 4A. And there was nothing non-standard, I would say, about this particular application. If you act positively upon it tonight, it will appear before the municipal authority on Tuesday of next week for the 3 additional EDUs that are needed for the project. After that, it'll go before the supervisors for them to adopt the accompanying resolution.
So all you're looking for is just for us to approve this and for me to fill out section 17.
Yes, that's correct.
Now, it's a standard component 4A, and since Brady's filled it out,
Yeah.
we can be assured it's correct.
Anybody else in the comments?
Yeah, no comment.
No comment.
And just so the minutes reflect that Stacy recused herself because she's associated with the applicant.
Do we need a vote to? For me to vote?
You do.
Okay.
Motion to approve component.
Any public
4A.
comment? Is there any public comment?
There is no public comment.
Anybody in the audience?
I think there's a form of a motion on the page 1 at the bottom, underlined.
Okay. Would anybody like to make that motion?
You can make a motion to consider approving component 4A as presented and authorizing the township planning commission chairperson to complete section B and complete sign and date section C17 component 4A.
Okay, motion made by Vice Chairman. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Bill. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And Stacy recused.
I'm recused.
Okay, so the motion carried 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is grant applications for sidewalk possibilities, Constable Road and Newtown Road.
So I'll just give you a brief overview real quick. We discussed, towards the end of last year that, we would look at the TASA grant for the possibility of installing sidewalk along Conestoga Road as part of a safe route to school. Essentially from the township line to, we didn't determine. And we did something similar with sidewalk along Newtown Road. We didn't decide what grant application, but we decided that, well, we recommended, sorry, to the Board of Supervisors that we look for a grant for sidewalks to help that intersection at Newtown and Beaumont. We essentially have the limits for Newtown Road because it's been discussed. The township has submitted grant applications for that sidewalk before and were not awarded. So 2 things with this item on the agenda. One, I guess to determine the limits along Newtown Road again. If you want to keep them the same, we can keep them the same. Any ideas that you want to extend, shrink, anything you'd like to do. And the second would be the limits for Conestoga Road. Once this is all determined, we will just write it in a memo to the Board of Supervisors. I'll mention it in my planning and zoning memo to the Board of Supervisors, and then we will look for, I guess we will get an RFP from a consultant, either Bowman or Carroll Engineering, to assemble the grant application with the limits that were determined here and blessed by the Board of Supervisors.
Colin, was this, so is this 2 different applications?
This
Or is it
is-
2 different,
2 separate locations, right? So Conestoga Road and Newtown Road. So the Newtown Road, like I said, was discussed last year and previous year about, and I believe the year before that as well, about having sidewalks installed from Durwood to Beaumont, and then having a crosswalk at that intersection. So if we would like to keep that limit, we can do that and look for a grant. A grant has not been determined, a grant application for that project. The TASA grant, which is provided through PennDOT. That is geared more towards a safe routes to school, which would lend itself to Conestoga Road, since the school is there in Tredyffrin, and that is essentially Tredyffrin had sidewalks installed all the way up to the township line. So it was a great candidate for a safe routes to school grant application.
So should we be discussing these separately, the different?
Yeah, so you would have two separate, and you know, with Newtown, you could just say, hey, Newtown we think is good, let's just look for a grant application that would be suitable for those sidewalks and apply. And then Conestoga Road, it's a little more in depth, you have to figure out the stopping point. So we have the starting point, which is the township line, right, at that intersection. We just have to figure out where we would like to, where would be a good stopping point.
Or would it be the other way around where right now, so the Conestoga Road sidewalk, I guess, proposed project came out of a couple things. Last several years, the residents on Conestoga and surrounding areas have been emailing the township wanting something safer for walking to school. Currently, the sidewalk stops from the middle school on Conestoga at Francis and Margot Lane. So this would looks like an extension going further east. So as part of the planning commission workshop, you know, we kind of brainstormed and I guess we're getting to a point where supervisors have approved, looking forward to this potential ideas on what we can do here, right? So is this to basically provide approval for looking at future grant for this?
For Conestoga Road?
Yeah,
Conestoga Road is, so
or sketching that.
we are going to submit a tacit grant for Conestoga Road. Because it would be, that was determined last year, that it was discussed with the planning commission, and then it went in front of the board of supervisors, and the board of supervisors authorized it in their budget. So they allocated some money for a consultant to assemble the tacit grant for safe routes to school for Conestoga. And then there's also a little sum of money that available for Newtown Road to submit a grant application. It just hasn't been determined which grant application would be best suitable for that area.
Yeah, and I remember for Newtown, there was some thought into the sketch that was provided. Do we have something like that for Conestoga, or is that something?
No, that's what's being determined here. So what we'll do, what the takeaways we would need from the planning commission tonight would be the starting point of the township line with Tredyffrin to continue the sidewalk for it to be a safe routes to school. So we just need to know where a good stopping point would be. So it could go from, I mean, it could be, it's a grant application, right? So in my opinion, and it's my measly opinion, that you would ask for the moon, because they're gonna look at it and they're gonna determine, hey, we'll allocate blank dollars for this. It may not be everything, but at least they know that you have intentions to complete it. So it could be the entire length of Conestoga Road from Tredyffrin all the way over. So you're connecting this development up here, right? The people that live above it, and they can walk to Conestoga Road and walk down to school, and the people that live below it can walk up to Conestoga Road and down to the school. So
Would you recommend going even further than what's showing on this, like even down to like Valley Forge Road, or past that?
if it were me, I would, right? I mean, it's not up to me, it's up to you guys, but again, my opinion would be you're ask for the moon, right? Because they're gonna show that you have the intentions to connect this neighborhood up here and this neighborhood up here, where kids can get on their bikes and ride on the sidewalk, or walk and then walk over there. And they can look at it and they'll allocate You know, so what goes into the TASA grant is you need, a concept plan, something like this, where it has, you know, the map where you're showing where anticipated sidewalk can go, right? It doesn't have to be a design, it can be a Google Earth image with, you know, a line, a red Sharpie from here to here, and then you need the associated cost estimate, and it's approximate, right? Because you don't have a design, you have no idea. But you know you're gonna need, a minimum of a 5 foot wide sidewalk, and then you have the length, so you can figure out what this, the, you know, the total square footage is going to be, and then you have a cost for that, and then you have a cost for curb if they're gonna try and put curb and blah, 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 right? So if that cost comes out to just say, this is made up, I have no idea what it is, right? It could be $2 million. Well, if you could get awarded 1.5 million. You don't have to do the full thing, you can just do what you have the amount of money for. So that's why I always say, just ask for it, because it's gonna show that you have this grandioso plan to eventually get it done.
Yeah, I think, Bill worked on this, I do like this, it's in phases, like phase one will, you know, provide like the best improvements with like low hanging fruits, you know, the amount of, foot traffic in phase two. I mean, I do like what you presented, sorry.
No, it's okay. I was just gonna say, wouldn't the Newtown Road, qualify for one of those TASA grants then? Because you are heading to school?
Well, last year we did, 2 years ago, sorry, not last year, in 2023, we submitted a grant, we submitted a Newtown Road, for a TASA, and it was not accepted.
Okay.
So we did, we tried to do that, and it, at the time, it could still be a good candidate if, but.
Is that the one that, because the school district didn't work with us on it?
It wasn't that the school district didn't work with us on it,
We didn't
it
have, like,
was,
comments from them?
We
or
didn't
something?
have a complete sidewalk to
It-
the school.
yeah, so it was, I think.
We needed like to get across their property or
Yeah.
something like that.
No, what actually happened was, it was a quick pivot by the township to go for the TASA grant. So it wasn't originally submitted as a TASA grant, but we kind of
Okay.
saw it and said, hey, this would be a good candidate for it, because it could be a safe routes to school. And because it was a quick pivot, it wasn't enough, we didn't allow enough time for planning and discussions and anything along those lines. So instead of kind of rushing it and pushing it through and saying, you know, we did what we could and we submitted with what we had, and it just didn't go in our favor that time.
And I guess the other thing I worry with the tax grants is, should we not be considering Newtown Road for tax grant? We should only have like one application for a tax grant at a time. Is that kind of the?
Well, I don't know if you can submit multiple,
Okay,
applications.
so we should kind of.
I mean, I would talk to, one of the township consultants, either Bowman or Carol, who kind of are more familiar with the grant application than I am. However, like from previous experience and with other grant applications, you can have a primary and an alternate, right? So we could do that. But you may not get either, right? So I don't know, I would just say spread the wealth, right?
Okay. So back to this plan, I mean, I would say we should go down Conestoga the entire way that we can. Although interestingly enough, I mean, I drive through this area pretty regularly, and I feel like I see more people walking along the green phase 2 area, walking their dogs, walking kids, riding bikes, and things like that along that section.
Is that why you didn't, is that why you have?
Yeah,
lane
so
as opposed to.
It's
extending it
also a
further?
low traffic road.
yeah, so the
Yeah,
thought
exactly,
behind
it's a
this was
lower
after the
traffic.
Ped Bike meeting,
Mhm.
when Colleen said, you know, what I have been arguing with my soapbox has been this one stretch of Conestoga Road does 90% of the value add for like a ton of these neighborhoods, because you cannot get to it. And it just gets you across that horrible stretch of Berwyn Baptist, and there's just no safe way to get across that intersection. But then after that discussion, Carl was saying, hey, the grant applications, you know, think bigger than that. This was my first attempt at that, so I think what I'd like this group to do is just decide where do we draw that line? I mean, there's gotta be a point, Colleen, where you just, I mean, we could draw dotted lines on every road in the township, that's not helpful, right? So there's gotta be some sort of limitation to what we ask for.
Yeah, absolutely, like, it has to be, you have to remember, it's considered a safe routes to school.
Right,
Right, so that's what we're doing, so it's not a safe walk to the village, which is ideal, right, that would be wonderful. But it really, what the ultimate goal for the tacit grant is, you want the most amount of kids to be able, from all neighborhoods, from both sides of Conestoga Road, to be able to get to that safely and walk to school safely, right? So that's the biggest thing, so, I think,
yeah, that's where I think the purple line, I mean, most of, I'm not sure, I'd have to go road by road, but like Spencer and Land's End have sidewalks, and that whole neighborhood has a lot of school age kids in it, a lot.
Did they have, does Fairfield have sidewalks?
No.
I don't think so.
It's also low volume road too, so I think
It's
they're
low
like,
volume, but
yeah, so all those roads, I think as a secondary phase makes sense.
Yeah.
But as a low volume, meaning it's safer for the kids to walk without a sidewalk.
Yeah.
But then get this Conestoga, that's the one that you really need the sidewalk, you know?
So I think there's two questions. One, and then I also took phase to the Devon train station, which is not as necessarily safe routes to school, but there is sidewalk being, I think, scheduled to be built, right? It's in the bidding phase on the west side of Waterloo between Lancaster and Berkeley. I mean,
That
it's
is
small,
correct,
it's a really
yeah.
small stretch, but,
yeah.
and then there's
Sure.
been, in my understanding, years ago, before I was involved, but there's quite a bit of study was done on access around the Devon train station, including that Station Avenue Waterloo intersection and being able to get across the road there. So that was my thought process, is I guess if we're taking it this far, and it's logical to take it to that as the other terminus. And then as I'm thinking about it, I don't know if we want them to take it down Conestoga or Valley Forge where Devon Prep could be. If that's a consideration, if it then connects yet another school to that network, then maybe we take it down Conestoga all the way across Devon State to Valley Forge and then down to Devon Prep. And I'm not sure exactly where the township line is, Devon Valley.
It's farther down
pretty
there.
further-
It's
pretty
farther
far
down there. But I think that's a great idea, and I think if you're connecting two schools, that's certainly,
So that
it's
makes.
gotta
sense
mean
to
something.
me, Right, but in my mind, it's like, hey, let's get this defined so we can make the application, because we know the first amount of money we spend would be this Conestoga connector, and that would be a great benefit to the township. That's sort of my thought process.
So a question, I can't tell, are there sidewalks already that go from the new residential development in the village is gonna be, you know, near Handles or whatever?
This is actually Chris's, there's the old school, there's a residential subdivision with a pocket park going in on Highland that has sidewalk in front of it. It's not the ones.
No,
in
Bill,
the
are
village.
there sidewalks from
Oh,
Old
yes.
Handles to the school
Yeah,
already?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Well, then, yeah, I think you go for the Conestoga and your green and your light pink, and
This right here.
if you wanna go more, just like Colleen says, put down everything you wanna go for.
So if you look here, if you look on the screen, so
Yeah.
it goes from here, right?
Yeah.
This is,
Yeah.
this is where the sidewalk is, so they're right here where this wonky intersection is, there's no sidewalk, right?
Right,
And then we could start and go all the way down. And then this North Valley Forge Road, so Valley Forge Road is the limit, that's where, that's the end of the township.
That's a
okay.
great spot, and then go down Valley Forge, because that is the
Yeah,
township,
would you,
and get to the other school.
right. Well, would you go
well,
down
wait,
Devon
this?
State too? Would you do-
If you went down
that's-
North Valley Forge,
Oh,
no, if
yeah.
you went down, meaning actually north. If you go north on North Valley Forge Road towards the baseball field, That would connect you to Devon Prep.
Devon Prep.
So Devon Prep's
And that is still
technically
part of the
interdifferent.
township.
Yes, it is interdifferent.
Yeah, but it's just the left, just the west side of the road.
Mhm.
Isn't there sidewalks on the left side of that road?
Mm-mm.
Not at all.
There's no sidewalks along there.
Actually, it's not really been down that side of Spencer, but I imagine that's walkable too.
The
Low-
road
low-
is
that-
Spencer, yeah.
That's a low traffic.
It's just
road.
crossing the other road.
Right.
That's the only thing.
And there's also a lot of
Yeah.
hills with poor visibility and stuff. So I mean, that would make sense to me to extend that line. And then I think it makes sense to connect Francis or to get Old Lancaster
Well,
and
question,
Highland
Sure.
moved in as well.
would there be any on the Devon State Road, does that have sidewalks? It doesn't. So would it like somebody who's far down there have to go away from the school to get the sidewalk on North Valley Forge and come all the way up? What would they do to get to the Conestoga?
I guess if you're on
Road?
Spencer Road on the other
Yeah.
side of Devon State
Or
would be a
below
challenge.
it there.
This side, you would just come down.
There aren't that many houses on some of the streets.
But yeah, the block of Spencer between Valley Forge and Devon State would be kind of orphan.
Would it be possible to put some on Devon State as well, or is that not worth it?
The block on Spencer between Valley Forge.
Say over there.
Okay.
If you put it on
This
Devon
is
State
Spencer
Road,
Jog.
yeah.
Yeah.
So this section,
Yeah.
this is easy, you can just walk.
Right, yeah, anything on the left of
We're
Devon
just
State
talking
is
about,
easy.
we're
Yeah.
just talking about taking it down to Devon Prep, so wouldn't that get that?
That's,
as well?
that's on
would.
North Valley, it's on the other side though.
It's Chris is saying then.
You get to cross
You wouldn't
Devon
wanna
State's
go
a
this
tough
way.
road to cross, yeah. If you're walking across the road.
No, but if we have the sidewalk going down to Devon Prep,
Yeah,
couldn't they access that orphan section of Spencer from Devon Prep?
Yeah, technically, you'd just be doing the loop.
you're just gonna walk all the way up to the corner. And I don't know too many kids are gonna not look for a shortcut, but
Yeah.
So you, I mean, it'd be easy enough to connect.
yeah, just put them on Devon State for a little bit, yeah.
That section, because it does, down here, it's pretty hilly, that would be, it's a wider road, but I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know how many people would walk that.
yeah, you're exactly
But
right.
that connection
Yeah,
between Spencer and Conestoga,
that's fairly safe there. yeah. So put as much as we think is reasonable, connect the schools and go for it.
I mean, what specifically do you need from us, Colin? Like, I think speaking personally, I just want to do whatever we can to advance this as quickly as possible.
Yeah, so, what will happen is you tell me the limits, right? You tell me, you want Conestoga to Valley, or Valley Forge, or you want Conestoga to, Devon, and then, so you tell me what you want the limits to be, or how you want it. I will pass that map along to the Board of Supervisors at their February 18th meeting. So it'll be in their packet so they can see, once they say, yeah, this looks good. We can, give the blessing for us to, get RFPs from a consultant to prepare the grant application, we'll do that.
So I would propose then that we would go from Berwyn Baptist Road down Conestoga east. And personally, I think we should go to North Valley Road and then go north on North Valley Road to some reasonable spot at the other school, which would be Devon
North
Prep.
Valley Forge Road.
North Valley Forge Road.
Right. Which would be Spencer Road, there's an intersection there, and basically we're directly opposite the school.
Yeah,
Can you
Would be
zoom
nice.
back out on
then
that?
that would make
Sorry
sense.
about that, I was trying to see if there was a.
So then it would go,
crossable
then it would
spot.
go up to Spencer Road. That would be my proposal.
I'd probably also take it down, I worry about Devon State too.
Yeah.
I'd probably take it down, I'd probably take it from, I'd probably have a sidewalk in Devon State from Conestoga down to Spencer.
Yeah,
That's what he's right, drawing up right now.
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking. So basically, we're boxing in this block and that.
Yeah.
Colleen, have you gotten anything from residents, requesting sidewalk from that side, on the east side, I guess what we're talking about?
No, I've gotten several emails and calls, Conestoga, I believe, this area. Like in this little bend, that people speed through. There's a couple, I think,
There's a hump in the road there, so it's not, you can't see a car coming, or if you just came onto somebody quickly on a bike
Yeah,
or walking on the side of the road, it would be hard to react quickly
yeah.
at that at
Yeah.
that little area.
So,
you're talking about.
I know, the resident that was calling and has sent a couple emails, said that her kids wait for the bus. And, the cars just fly by because you can't see the kids waiting on the driveway.
That's
So
true.
you just need a break.
So how do sidewalks work? One side of the road only or both sides?
You can do one side, you can do both sides.
What
In
would
this
be-
situation, I think it would be one side.
One side.
Yeah, so Chris,
get
the
So then you have to have a crosswalk somewhere in there, I guess.
10 years ago plus from Margot and Berman Baptist on Concord going toward the middle school, there was not a sidewalk. If you go on Street View and go back in time, you'll notice there's no sidewalk there. They popped up, so, and they only put it on one side, and I know a lot of people use it, obviously, you know,
So, that stretch into different,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, right here, you say right here.
Yeah, right there.
But I think just continuing that on the north side down
And then do you,
seems to make,
okay, do you
So
pick
that's
where you
fine.
put the crosswalk then? I mean, how do you get
That's
to
a
the
good
crosswalk?
question.
Yeah, so that, all of this technical stuff
Okay.
will get flushed out by,
the.
in the design. So at this point, we don't have to worry about the technical stuff. We just take a piece of paper like this and we say, this is what we're looking at. We're looking at sidewalk from here to here. And then that's it. So we don't need, the actual width, the slope. We don't need any of that information right now.
So the only question I'd have for this group, but there's no sidewalk on Francis, right?
Yeah.
But there is, because there's a residential development further south.
So
But
there
then it
is,
terminates,
there
right?
is a Francis.
It is, those new houses have
Yeah.
a little sidewalk there.
And then into the cul-de-sac. So I would propose continuing that to
Yeah,
that
definitely.
intersection as
It's
well.
only that missing link right there on Francis that doesn't have a sidewalk right
So
there.
that's,
Yeah.
It's that
Probably-
corner lot and then the rest of
yeah,
Francis.
and that's in green on my little drawing here, but some of that exists already.
Yeah,
Yes.
like south of
Here.
Bromer,
Right,
that exists.
got it. So and then down Lancaster, like I said, I know that, actually, I think my arrow here where it says new residential development, I think it's actually further east. But I remember that came before us a couple of years ago, and had a little pocket park in the corner, and then there was sidewalk along that road added there,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know what the status.
So the
is.
green, could that be
Didn't
a
work.
transportation
Just,
grant,
No,
Colleen?
Yeah,
Would get, I mean,
Yeah.
maybe that's what our proposal should be, is to cover Conestoga under Vatassa. And include a little bit of Devon State Road, a little bit of the North Valley Forge Road, and even coming down Francis. Those two parcels, it crosses over Warren, and then it's the only one parcel, I think, that
Right.
doesn't have a sidewalk. I think then the rest of them do, were the new houses.
Yeah,
are
and I mean,
rotated.
and I know I said, that, you know, shoot for the moon. However, there are, there are so many other grants out there.
Yeah,
You know, we have the grant, that we were awarded for the U-shaped sidewalk going in and around the library, right? So once that's gonna be in construction towards the end of the year, like maybe summer-ish. So once that closes, we can always submit another grant for a continuation of a sidewalk, which is always great because when you have a continuation, it looks like you have the initiative to continue doing it.
yeah.
So in this situation, we're not, you know, we're just trying to, we just have to remember, it is a safe routes to school. So the Conestoga and then connecting to the other school, that's a phenomenal project because you are taking two schools that are right outside of Easttown and you are just connecting them. That's wonderful. That's great, right? To me, that's a phenomenal project. So,
Maybe the Francis Avenue, we just need to think about and connect it more towards a transportation
Yeah.
type grant. So keep it on Conestoga hit the,
Those neighborhoods.
Devon State and the North Valley,
Right.
and then that is school related, and then the other, this green area is see if we can get something to be a transportation.
I think what Colleen is saying, to put down everything. You can pick and choose based on the money. Are you concerned that?
No, I'm not concerned,
Put too
yeah,
much down, or-
well, no, I think what she's, what at least what I'm hearing Colleen say is that, you know, there's a million different little side roads that we could add these to. But if we are, I mean, I think from we're looking at Conestoga to the other school, it does lend itself really well to this particular grant.
That is
And then the
correct.
side
Yeah.
pieces that we're adding,
That's
Right.
And then.
North Valley makes sense, and
No,
then
but when
Devon State Road makes sense because it's connecting Spencer, which also gets you to the
So
school.
this to the side here.
Makes sense to me, Stacy.
More, yeah.
And then, yeah, the other end of Francis is the other controversial, that tunnel, which is.
Yeah,
That's
that's
a whole
on,
other
that's a
issue.
whole other thing. But if we got some sidewalks on the rest of Francis and then
Right.
down Old Lancaster
Just to
and
get-
on Highland to get down to the train station, that could potentially be a transportation grant because you're getting to the train station, which,
So I'd argue just that north edge of Francis, since there's existing sidewalk in front of that development. Up, not all the way to Cromer, or something, to just connect that last little bit, I have that. Then Conestoga and what you just described. I think that's
Alright, let's
total.
go
I
with that.
think you need to, otherwise you're only looking at the one side of Conestoga.
Yeah,
That's not,
okay,
reflective
So
of
it's-
the overall plan.
so it's in purple here, but extended all the way to the township line of Valley Forge Road. Down Spencer and around that. Block, the stretch on Devon State between Conestoga and Spencer. And then just that little connector on Francis, does that make sense?
Yeah.
What might, yeah, exactly what you just treated.
I agree with that.
Yeah. And that's what you need from us, Colleen?
That is exactly what I need, Jeff.
Awesome.
We did, and that's just a discussion thing, that's not a vote then.
Or do we need to make a?
Tom, do you think they need
Why don't you just put, it was the consensus of the board.
Yeah, there you go.
Now we have to do Newtown Road.
You can, so with Newtown Road, we don't have a specific grant application that we're gonna submit. However, you can, I guess there's two options, right? You can either say, what was proposed previously, just stick with and continue, you know, searching for the appropriate grant application to submit, or if you wanna tweak it a little bit. What was submitted was Durwood to Beaumont, and then improvements at the entire intersection of Beaumont to cross. And then, a little section going into, the park, like the Hilltop Park area. So you would be able to successfully walk from Durwood along the sidewalk, cross safely at Beaumont Newtown, and then walk into the park.
and when you say they're doing some sort of intersection things for safety, is there a blinking light, is there?
No, it was,
It's
what I
just
say,
like
I
crosswalk.
say, I'm sorry, I should say, bring it up to ADA standards.
Okay,
So
Oh,
ADA
okay.
crossings,
Okay.
ADA crosswalks
Got it.
and landings.
And was the school concerned with having to hire a crossing guard or something? I remember that conversation.
There was a question of, you know, when you have an intersection like that and now you're inviting children to walk to school, how are you going to ensure that they're going to cross there safely? And it was asked like, who would pay if they had to hire a crossing guard? Who would be in charge of that?
Did we hear back from him? I think someone went and talked to him, didn't they?
No, nobody went.
Paul was going to, but
Okay.
he's not here anymore.
Paul didn't come tonight.
Well, I'm thinking,
call in,
I'm thinking if, well, I don't know if there's still a safe route to school, like. I think kids get picked up at buses where the sidewalk would be now, what is proposed. The bus doesn't have to go there anymore, then there's a saving for the school there a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I recommend, because the work's already been put in, that don't apply for the TESA grant, because looks like you have to do more work with the school. Maybe it's packaged in a way well, we could apply for another grant, a sidewalk grant.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
And then maybe a second phase would be working with the school and see where they want it to go into their, you know.
Yeah, so if everybody is happy with the limits of Durwood to Beaumont, you know, we can just take what we already have and just find an appropriate grant application for that.
That sounds good.
Durwood to Beaumont, but then going south on Beaumont towards the park, right?
Yeah, so you would
Crossing to
have
the
the
park.
crossing at the intersection, so you'd have all the ADA ramps
Yeah.
and crosswalks, and then you would be able to come into the,
And that, but there was no, but there's no entrance to the school though, right?
no, so, and one of the concerns from the school was because it was a quick pivot to do the TASA and it was filed under a Safe Routes to School, the concept, right, like the very high level plan of the aerial had a sidewalk from the corner going diagonally up into the school. And the school was, they just questioned it because they said, well, if you do that, then you're going to eliminate parking. You're gonna have people walking up this hill, you're gonna, you know, so they had concerns about it. And it was just such a small window of trying to gather answers and, you know, kind of get everybody on the same page of what was a good idea. So that's why. So
My concern about that is that if we get a grant for these sidewalks and we put sidewalks there, but there's nothing to get into the school, kids are gonna find a way to get to the school. And they're just gonna be crossing over.
Just walk across the
And
grass.
they're gonna be walking across the grass and stuff like that, and I think it's better to actually have something
yeah,
that they're gonna actually be going to, as opposed to just letting the kids figure it out themselves.
yeah, I don't disagree with you. I mean, there would be, I believe there would be room in front, like to have sidewalk along Beaumont in front of the school,
Mhm.
right? I don't know if that is something, the school would be in favor of or not. I mean, working in this building during the hours of Carline.
Yeah.
Carline is, I don't even have words for it, right? Like you just see
It's a
these
disaster.
cars
Like,
that are just,
Honestly,
you know,
part of the reason because of that is because the buses are a disaster.
yeah, so I mean, I don't know too much about that. I have an 8-year-old son that, you know, loves Carline as well, and you just sit in the traffic,
The
so.
buses are a disaster in this town, in the school district.
My dog's telling me.
Speaking as a parent of a third grader, the buses are an absolute disaster.
Yeah, so, I think it would be, you know, I don't know. I think with Newtown Road, it's, you can have it from Deerwood and not have it as a safe routes to school because of that issue, but if you find another grant, you know, have it from Deerwood and have sidewalk from, maybe Waterloo along Newtown to bring that section and Deerwood down and bring it to the park, because again, you know, when I leave here, I have seen several people walk along Newtown.
Yeah.
Going towards Waterloo, and my eyes just want to bulge because why are you walking on this road? Like, you know, so it's one of those things that you can do it that way where you find the grant where you're getting people to come into that park, right? And getting there safely.
Let's just go with what we had before and then we'll try to
Yeah,
find a solution on the.
I'm just support for that as long as
Get
it's
the
not
school.
in
Sure.
conflict with the,
Yeah.
what we just discussed, then that makes sense to me. Or, yeah, not
Sure.
competing with, I should
I
say.
agree with that.
Consensus in the planning commission for doing that.
It's worth a shot.
Yeah. Do it.
Yeah.
You good on that?
Yeah, absolutely,
Cool.
absolutely.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the draft 2024 annual report. That is something that I have to prepare.
So every year, the planning commission has to have a report or a summary of what was done the previous year, your accomplishments from the previous year. That gets put into the board of supervisors packets. So they have an idea of, you know, what you guys are working on and, you know, the projects that have been completed and essentially what you have accomplished, right? So this was put on the agenda so you can discuss a few things. One, who would like to kind of take the lead and do that? And then you can kind of have, you know, a quick discussion of, you know, what you have discussed, compile it, and then next month, it will be put into the packet so you guys can review it and, you know, recommend approval to go to the Board of Supervisors, have it in their packet. So ideally, the board would have this in their, April packets. Okay? Oh, that's a lie. It would be their March packets because you meet before. Sorry, I was a month ahead of myself.
Does this also include, like approvals for various, saldos and things like that, or is it just more related to planning projects?
It's more related to, just anything that you've done, that you thought was an accomplishment in 2024, right? The showers were installed, the signs are getting installed for the showers, so, you know, things like that. I suggested to Mike to reach out to Paul, because I think Paul started a list, so he
Yeah.
may have it, a few things.
And you could, for example, say, planning commission review 11 zoning hearing board applications.
Yeah.
And so many land development applications, like that.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I'm sure he has. Can you share the 2023 report? Just so we got it.
Yeah,
so you have it,
yeah,
okay.
it's
I mean,
just-
if you guys,
always start with
if
that.
you guys are okay with it, I'll just prepare something and.
Yeah, for sure.
We need to discuss it next time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so when you finish it, you could just send it to me and it'll be in the packet,
Okay.
for next month, and then you just make a motion to recommend forwarding to the board.
Okay.
So the board will have it in their, March packets.
Mhm.
Liaison reports, anybody?
The Historic Commission approved a sign. They talked about, it was not an eventful meeting. Then they ended talking about East Town 250 and figuring out what they want to do with that. So there wasn't anything that seemed significant to the planning board.
You guys have anything on Penn Lake or?
We discussed most of it. We talked about this, the sidewalks for the most part. Nick, did you have any? I mean, there were some other projects in the, further out, but in the mix, like the Sharps Preserve trails and things like that, but nothing that I think this body needs to act on in the near term, right?
No, we talked about what can we do for future, projects, you know, to help this group.
Let me give us a quick overview while Chris is out, so we can get that.
Well, I think, maybe the Sharps Preserve, now that that property's been acquired, you know, maybe there can be some,
Yeah, Mary offered to
Passage.
present her ideas to us. I just looked at my notes
Yeah.
about the Sharps Preserve.
yeah.
And then we would discuss the signage. I have a note around that, like the, right at Bridge Avenue. I think they just cut back the landscaping and there's actually a masonry sign that says welcome to Berlin.
Yeah,
It was nothing,
yeah, I don't know if you were at the last piece
Oh,
of the board, but we
maybe
talked
I'm
about.
2 months ago, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we talked about there's some signs that are too much shrubbery that I think are actually. Maybe the maintenance can take care of it. It doesn't have to be a planning issue, you know. So we talked about that.
Just to give you a quick update on that, I reached out to, the property owners, so Tires Plus.
Yeah.
And asked if they could clean that sign up. I just kind of, you know, picked their brain, hey, who typically does it? Have you done it in the past? They said yes. I just said, could you, you know, do you mind cleaning that area up? So, you know, we can see the sign. And then as far as the sign at the post office, like that.
In Devon?
Yeah,
Yeah, John had called me about that and asked who maintained that, and that in the past has always been the township maintaining that. And I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of
rose bushes or a lot of overgrowth there.
Yeah, I spoke to Public Works about that, you know, and we'll see what we can do about cleaning that sign up as well.
Do you have anything to say about the supervisors meeting? Because Chris is in the bathroom.
The February meeting? Oh, no, wait, the January meeting.
He's coming back.
Oh, here he comes. He's gonna be-
Okay. Try to stall. I didn't say it. Anything to report from the supervisors?
No, I'm sorry, I had to miss it. Was on a business trip, and for the right time.
Okay.
I was just trying to look up what they said during the meeting.
All right, next item on the agenda is public comment. We have anything online?
There's nothing on
Anybody here? Yes.
Hi, Margaret D'Alessandro, 610 Club Valley Lane. I'm a little baffled with the excitement of sidewalks leading to high schools that are interdifferent. There's an elementary school in Easttown, Devon Elementary, that has no sidewalks on Sugartown, no sidewalks on Fairfield, no sidewalks on Exeter. Exeter accessing the school is narrower than regulation for this township. When you've got two cars passing and people walking on the sides, hazardous to say the least, and it's always been left out of discussions of sidewalks, and I'm baffled.
Do you have anything to say about that? I mean,
My kids
talk about that.
went through Devon, I live in Berkeley, and we did walk both from north, so down Fairfield, across Sugartown. And, so I don't have experience with the Exeter side, the south
Yeah.
side.
Well, you
But I
know,
can
that's
say-
on Fairfield, that the car line
Yeah.
goes all the way down Fairfield, so you've got cars there pulling in, pulling out, students walking on the side with no
Yeah,
sidewalks.
no,
I think it's, should be part of the consideration either for the fee and lieu fund or a grant application.
that makes total sense. I will say that the thought process behind the Conestoga one is you do have these neighborhoods that are walkable. You have all of the middle and high school that's not accessible to them. So that was the thought process there, that this would be sidewalks in Easttown. But
Yep.
the reason why we talked about Tredyffrin is because the stretch from the township
Well, I
line.
get it, it's just
to the
that this
school
isn't the
is
first
different.
time that Devon has
Yeah.
been left out of the discussion.
Understood. Yeah, I think that's something we should consider,
Yeah,
and
that should be
it
something
would
we should
be,
look at too, potentially.
Fairfield in both directions, and with,
And
and Sugartown.
Yeah.
In both
We've got a
directions.
crossing guard there and then nowhere for the
And
kids.
no, you're right, no sidewalks on any of the four corners.
Yeah.
Yeah, I walked that many times. And I only did it when I was with them, we didn't have them do it by
No.
themselves for just that reason.
Yeah.
And they did put in the four-way stop signs
Yeah.
at Fairfield and
Yeah.
Sugartown.
Right,
several
yeah, it was
years ago.
crazy before that.
So I mean, we should be looking at further improvement.
Noted. Remember where it is? Any other public comment? Yes, go ahead.
Slide out of the back row here. Name is Joe Cone, Sugartown Road in Devon. See members of the board and the city council. I hope you got my letter that was the January 27th letter about the recent discussion you had, I guess, at your meeting on your January meeting, that some, notes are circulating. I hate to, as a third generation lifelong Democrat, I don't like to quote President Trump, but a lot of people are talking about your meeting, a discussion about some Center Devon PDO zoning. So I said, I said in my letter that we had some materials that were prepared. I noticed, one of the items in the notes of the meeting was prepare a summary of Devon Center exercises, including community feedback. So I'm very involved with that with a large group of neighbors. and have some of those materials, which we wanted to give you. I know you have time limits on your public comment. This was not on your agenda tonight, so
Okay.
I'm not here to, to go into all this,
You're gonna
but,
read them all?
well, you have trouble sleeping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
But,
you.
yeah, just maybe take a minute or two or
Thank you.
3 or 4 to explain what this package is. Do my own copy, like.
Thank you.
Sure. And look, I know, Mr. Dwyer was on the Devon Center Committee and Mr. Carr was on the commission, I think about, kind of about halfway through the Devon Center from the beginning of the third quarter, sort of in that phase, and Ms. Ballard was in attendance at most or all of the meetings as a resident and citizen of the township. So I don't purport to, have some sort of monopoly on the history of that, but first, I think, you say this group of residents that I speak about are, a group of neighbors, people have come and gone, and I got involved initially with the Devon Center project, which was in 2016. There was a group ultimately about 105 people who appeared and, registered. And when I would put out those numbers, I'd be very careful. I mean, this was not just folks who left a phone message or signed a petition outside the Acme or whatever. As, attorney, these are folks who had authorized our office to represent them, to submit papers to the township, speak on their behalf. And that number would grow. Some people move, some people passed away, et cetera. We've had a consistent position. So anyway, the first tab here is just kind of a summary that was from some materials we submitted for the Recreation Open Space Task Force that kind of recites some of the history of the involvement of this group of neighbors. Item 2 are comments we submitted to the Devon Center, to the Comprehensive Plan Task Force in 2016. And in terms of where this group of public is coming from on PBO issues on Devon, it's an 8-page double-spaced little summary. I mean, it really starts out with the, the PBO in the zoning ordinance, the 2007 comprehensive zoning. The purpose is stated. It's, quote, to make special provisions for limited business and office uses in selected locations along a major highway where typical commercial use and development is not desirable by reason of its tending to cause highway congestion and hazards. And that was sort of one of the guiding principles. If you look at, the history of PBO in Easttown, it's to have very limited use. So you don't have the backup that you have from Sugartown Road towards Wayne, by the farmer's market. That's not what he's saying. They want to keep the traffic flowing. The tab 3 was a report that we submitted from a planning expert. And I would say, this group of neighbors has not been naysayers. It's not just, not in my backyard, folks. We've always had positive things that we support as well as opposed. And this was an overview from Ed Thurkoff of Thurkoff Design, a well-known Chester County planner. And he really took sort of this 30,000-foot view. What is Easttown? What is Devon? It is primarily a residential area. It is primarily known for its green space, the streams, the country. Route 30, kind of nips the north end of the township. A very small portion of Route 30 finds itself in Easttown Township. And, how did that come about? What is it that we try to preserve? What is the quality of life in Easttown? And that's where a lot of the opposition to higher density unit development, higher impervious, higher heights of buildings is rooted in that kind of an analysis. Tab 4, Tom Commit at that point, he had been the consultant for the township in the 80s or 90s. At that point, he was not, and our group of neighbors retained him. This was just Tom Committa's, a summary of the comprehensive plan. And what does the comprehensive plan tell us about the Devon project? And so, those are highlighted. We can give you a highlighted version of the plan too. But again, it's focused on heritage, historic structures, cultural resources, enhance the streetscape. New building heights are low. Buildings should support Devon's heritage, gable roofs with cupolas. Enhance public space. Maintain the existing integrity of the land use pattern. So again, I could recite those, you could read that in the comp plan yourself, but this was a kind of the imprimatur of the planner. 2019, another third call for report, then, moving ahead, we were consistent in our position. And this is, somewhat repetitive of his earlier report, but that was then submitted to the Devon Task Force. Number 6, I think, is a key thing. You may have already, pulled this in your own files. This was the Glack and Thomas compilation of the Devon Center public input. There was a survey that was online, it may have been also mailed to the public, I think it was mostly online. And then there was a workshop, very well attended workshop. And this is their collection of the conclusions. Just a few, that has the likes and dislikes of what kind of uses you want to see. And people don't like the, power to ocean, don't like warehouses, don't want multifamily building development. They prefer restaurants, retail, veterinary clinic. But at the very end, then it has the conclusion page, which has, it's, this page. Again, this was the whole process that was required by the comprehensive plan. More green space, limit residential development, limit building height to 35 feet, minimize traffic congestion, train station revitalization. Don't rezone residential to commercial, preserve and revitalize Devon Horse Show. And with all the backup data. Another committee report specifically on the unit density. I noticed there were some notes in your meeting of January 7th talking about the Berwyn design features and or design use. I would, our group submitted some detailed material from Third Call on design. If you want to focus on limiting the types of building materials that would be in a building, you want to limit, roof size. If you want to create like a, Williamsburg or a little, quaint village design, so you don't have a building that looks like the TD Bank, for example, which is a perfectly clean, well-built, well-maintained building, but it's a certain style. It's kind of modern. Or Patient First. I like Patient First. I go there, clean, nicely landscaped, but it's got kind of a garish color and whatever. So if you want to kind of focus on those kind of designs, we laid out the kinds of choices that you would have. There didn't seem to be much interest or engagement in that. I think once things got beyond the, we're not going to have major changes to allow for, large unit apartments, things kind of fizzled out. But I would think there'd be tremendous interest in the public to engage in that. Streetscape issues. Should there be some unified kind of street light? Should there be, nicer park benches and that kind of stuff? Unified awning systems. So that's, some of that work has already been done. Number 10 is a letter from the horse show. There was a lot of discussion. Devon Task Force more so than later with the Planning Commission. What did the horse show want? Their fairgrounds. This was a letter from the chairman. There was a lot of kind of rumor mill. They just wanted to build, they were going to sell the property and move to Malvern or something and have commercial development. And it's a letter from Mr. Grafton in large part on page 10 where he says the horse show is perfectly content with continuing the R3 residential zoning on the fairgrounds itself. They want to be there as a fairgrounds. They want to continue, but they have no interest to have some kind of over zoning on that. They did ask at that time to consider some kind of equestrian use that would reduce the amount of effort they have to make every time they want to make a repair or enlarge a stable or fix the grandstand. So I said, great, neighbors are all for that. We'd love to make sure the horse show stays there. The Horse Show Council, do you want to take the first stab at writing the equestrian overlay? Look at his shoes. Council for the commission, do you want to? We'll take a first stab at it if you want. So, I think they wanted everything to go to. Getting to, 11, there's some sketches that both Tom Committa and Ed Thurkoff made of the public use, which is really, we would love to see the Planning Commission engage and maybe prompt our friends on the Board of Supervisors to take some action on two fronts. The whole section B of chapter 6 of the comp plan that's on Devon talks about open space, public gathering space, public use. Where could that be in Devon? that open parking lot that the horse show uses on, Dorset Road that sits idle 330 days a year would be a prime place. So we've, floated these design things. Is there some way, now this is not as simple as just writing some changes into a zoning ordinance. This would be a different kind of project. Community engagement, getting the board behind this, getting the horse show behind it. Can they clean that up to make it look better? Is there grant money? Is there public money? That would keep it open so they can park the cars there for the show. But, can't they improve the landscaping around the perimeter? Couldn't they have a nice fence there? Can't they knock down that ridiculous gas station that's been there for 25 years, empty? So, we would, again, tonight's not the night to make that presentation or that pitch, but, we've been after that, we've had a conversation with the horse shows lawyers, et cetera. But if you look at what is Devon, what is special about, that portion of East Devon, that portion of the whole main line, it is that historic event there, that historic structure. It just, screams, you're in horse country when you get off the train, when you drive through there. And if that area, looked nice, and then the Devon train station, you go back to the 2001 comp plan, the 2018 comp plan, they both talk about fixing up the train station, revitalizing that. That ain't easy. You can't just write something in a zoning ordinance to change, density from 8 to 12. It's engaging SEPTA, it's, showing some leadership. So I think that may be something that, you talk about an annual report. Does that come out of this process that you're looking, how can we make Devon look better? Otherwise, I think when you look at that intersection at, Waterloo and Lancaster, the buildings individually don't look bad. I mean, the Maserati dealer is a nice building. The, even the gas, the little bank across from TD Bank. It's a, brick building. I think if you were writing design restrictions, you'd say you'd want stuff to look like that. Even the convenience store at the Gulf Station doesn't look bad. It's a brick. It's got a peak roof. The signage is hideous on those gas stations. There was discussion at Devon Center about, you recall, getting rid of some uses. So you could go through the uses that are permitted in that section of the PBO. So initially thought, nobody likes car dealerships. We got too many car dealerships. Fine, take car dealerships out of the uses. And that's, that was proposed for a while. And then finally the car dealerships woke up and they got lawyers in and they had a long explanation as to how that would make their life difficult if they wanted to make changes or whatever. So that fell out. You don't like too many gas stations. Okay. You could say take service stations out of the use in that part of the station. I remember Mark Stanish, the chair of the planning commission at the time, said, I don't know, let's think about that. It's kind of nice to have a gas station that's convenient to your home. We know where it is. You can leave your house in the morning, you know where you can get gas. So that, that fell off. Even if you change that, you can't uproot those gas stations that are there. They still have the right to be there. They've been there for 30, 40, 50 years. So, with that said, I think we, the large group of folks are happy to engage constructively on this, but certainly we don't want a redo or a do-over of the Devon Center Task Force project, which played out as directed by the comp plan. It was a $70,000 or $80,000 project, I think, for the consultant that worked on it, and it reached certain conclusions. And it said, keep the building heights where they are, keep the density where it is, and then maybe let's look for some other ways to clean up Devon. We're all for it. So anyway, thanks. I've rattled on longer than I thought I would. I know Tom knows. Those days we were doing the Zoom meetings, you just cut me off. So that's enough. Cut the mic off after, after 10 minutes or 20 minutes. But anyway, thank you.
I will say this, I don't think I'm speaking just for myself right here. I don't think I'm saying anything that anybody else is opposed to. From a 30,000 foot view, we're not doing. I know a lot of people are concerned about apartments and things like that, high density residential. That is nothing what is being envisioned right now, okay? What we talked about informally was, and I think anybody in this room right now would agree that, hey, driving through Devon is not the best. There's things that could be a lot better driving through Devon right now. Everything is just like each parcel is, it's by itself, you know, you have the patient first building, and it's got the big parking lot, you know, and then you got the Studebaker building, which is now gonna be the service, where they're gonna work on the Sprinter vans, you know, which is, there's things that could be done differently in Devon that would be appealing to almost everybody, that, the comprehensive plan suggests we do, that haven't been done. And all we were talking about preliminarily was, hey, now that we took care of Berwyn, down Berwyn, let's start looking at what's going on in Devon. That's where we are right now, okay? We're not saying, hey, let's bulldoze everything in Devon, let's build skyscrapers. We're not saying we won't, I mean, I don't think anybody here, nobody here wants box stores, nobody here wants big apartment buildings, none of that stuff, okay? We want to prevent things like, you know, having that Studebaker, I mean, that Studebaker lot could have been something much nicer than a service center for the Sprinter vans. You know?
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate, and with what we have, with what the zoning ordinances in Devon is right now, that's what they can do. So that's all we were talking, okay? That's all we're just, hopefully we're gonna try to come up with some, just a overview of what we think we should try to approach in Devon to improve everything, to kind of get what the comprehensive plan is calling for and make it nicer. Do all those things, you know, maybe have, you know, more green areas on the properties, you know, maybe you have to tailor some of the parking requirements, reduce some of the parking requirements so you could add more green space, you know. If you want something like restaurants, maybe you have to look at maybe some of the impervious coverage, because restaurants are tough to park, you know, but I think people would appreciate a nice restaurant as opposed to another bank.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, some of it is.
It's something that we're not coming in here trying to, you know, just ram this ugly thing down everybody's throats. We just wanna take a look at this and see how we can get this aligned with what's in the comp plan. See how we can how Devon could be a more attractive area, you know, I mean, I said this to a meeting with nobody in the audience, you know. Devon is the gateway, is the main gateway into Easttown Township. And the first thing you see when you come into Easttown Township is that gas station. You know, and the Studebaker building, and you know, it's not, and I've lived in this area for 28 years now, you know, it's always been like, it's not, there's no, so, I mean, it's something that we should do. And that's where things stand right now, okay? We're not saying, hey, let's build 7-story apartment. I don't think anybody on this commission is in favor of doing that, and I'm just speaking for myself right up here, but I don't.
Yeah, I'd like to add just a couple of quick things. So I moved to Devon, and I grew up in Swarthmore and moved back home to Devon or to Philly area in 2016. So as this was tailing off, I live on Berkeley, basically almost catty corner to Devon Yards. And I've been trying to piece together, you know, all of the history here. Joe, I appreciate you coming. I would like to hear more directly from you and anyone else here who went through that process. Because, you know, I've seen a lot of these materials, I've tried to study them, and I'm trying to piece them together. I'll just give you my perspective. I look at a lot of this and I hear a lot of what you say, and I say, I'm 100% behind that. As the outsider looking in and just looking at the net results of it and looking at the PBO code we have now, it kind of appears like we took all of these visions and then just put them down. Because what exists now and what can be developed under current code, I think could make all of us even less happy. So that was my impetus, or I think is my impetus in trying to bring this up for discussion, because I not only do I think there's lots of great work we could build on, I also fear that you know, the applications we've seen before us are like for the Studebaker building, for it to be, you know, it would be nice to see it fixed up. It'd be nice to see the fin go back up, but for them to service Sprinter vans there, close to a regional train station with lots of residential area around it, that could be walkable, that could be, uses that us as residents could enjoy I'm not gonna have a Sprinter van service probably for the rest of my life. We wanna see this vision come to fruition, and just from my perspective, like I said, a little bit of the outsider looking in, I'm looking at what's on paper, and I'm looking at what's in the comp plan and saying these things do not seem to align with one another. That's what I think the commission's trying to solve. It's a difficult problem to solve, don't get me wrong, and as Mike said, we're in the, at least in speaking for myself, in the information gathering mode, so
Great.
I'd like to follow with you directly, and we can grab coffee and extend that invitation to anyone who's interested in this process, because like I said, I don't have the benefit of having been, I guess for better or worse, don't have the benefit of having been through that process with the residents at that time. But I see a lot of great work and a lot of great vision, and I am genuinely interested in trying to help see that through, because it does seem like absent some real action and us trying to, and some of it will probably be difficult compromises, and don't get me wrong, but I think that's the status quo, I think, is actually not just stasis, it's potentially going backwards from what was laid out in the plan. So that's just my 2 cents on it, and so we wanted to add that to Mike's.
I really appreciate that. I think, a couple just quick, building on the thoughts you have. I think from the neighbors have had a frustration that some of these things can be some short-term things while other things are developed. For example, the maintenance, that little triangle we just talked about with the sign at the post office. That's actually, that little postage stamp of land is actually mentioned in the comprehensive plan. That's something, but, there hasn't been action. There's this hideous, weed tree maple that sort of is, dropping stuff. You got a giant, utility pole now in front of the sign, so it's not a great thing. But again, that's not revising the zoning ordinance. That's just somebody, where that's falling between cracks somehow. How does that kind of get cleaned up? I don't know if the post office is the owner of that land, but they're gonna be willing to let the township go on there to fix that. The Studebaker building has been there for 50 years, I think. Restaurants is an allowed use. Retail is an allowed use. I think Eli Kahn got all sorts of approvals a couple of years ago for some sort of retail event there. He needed some variances for parking. They were granted.
Right.
So there's some of these things are kind of marked, you kind of can't legislate, beauty maybe or morality or whatever, but you can, you can't necessarily say, I want this to be a nice steakhouse restaurant that has the kind of menu I like to eat, but doesn't have it. But take warehouse as a use out of the PBO. People would be in favor of that. If you wanted to take in that area, maybe whether it's from, just Waterloo to Valley Forge Road, take out the use of auto dealerships from the PBO. I don't think anybody would complain. It's not, take service stations out of there. Again, there was some reaction of people who were already there or grandfathered.
Right.
But
We
those
just
things
talked
are great.
about
Yeah.
the effect line item cross out of
Yeah.
zoning.
Some of
But
those.
there's some reason.
And again, that's something, that's something like, we're gonna try to, get, we need to come up with just almost like a vision statement to try to get a planner, assistance from the board of supervisors, so it's not, we are at the, this is the absolute first step that we're at, we're not, and nothing is gonna happen immediately. This is not going to be a quick process. This is just something where, none of us, I don't think any of us wanna have to review another Studebaker approval,
We'd love to see whether, whether it's, if the planning commission would be on record in some way saying, we urge the board of supervisors and the township enforcement officers, and we urge the owner, the Devon Horse Show Foundation, to remove that gas station. Maybe that's something that prompts them. Then we talk to the board members at the horse show. Don't you guys ashamed of that?
I wanted to just, we've gotten several letters, gotten several. I wouldn't call it friendly text messages.
Freakouts and everything.
By certain people who shall remain nameless. I just want to turn down the temperature right now. We are not talking about high density apartment buildings, anything like that. None of us want to do that. Nobody wants to have box stores in the center of Devon. We want this to be a nice place. We all live here. This is our home. You know, nobody wants to live, nobody wants that around here. And personally, frankly, I think there's a.
So I have to say that last month was my first meeting and there was nothing on the agenda.
Yeah.
So what I heard in that meeting was, we can talk about Devon and, this is something that is kind of filler project. It's not, like, just the fact that it's not on today's agenda, to me means that what you gave us is probably a little overkill and reactive, and I understand that you want to make sure that we're reminded of where we were before. But I think we were still really at gathering information and trying to wrap our arms around kind of what the project should even be. So it, you know, I totally appreciate what you're saying. I lived through it too. You know, a lot of people were unhappy, a lot of people were nervous, and I think we're not trying to go down that road. We're trying to figure out something that would make it appealing, because right now, what I see is, as other communities along Lancaster Avenue are improving and making changes that are nice, is it makes Devon look dumpy. And we shouldn't have that, because Devon neighborhoods are beautiful, they're charming, and they're great to live in, close to the train, we have, you know, great schools, it's all those things. And yet this little commercial strip of Devon is really underutilized, and I don't have that answer. You know, we own 2 buildings in that little strip area, and it's a matter of figuring all that out. I just don't think that it's something that I think you're gonna get a lot of notification and hearing about whenever we have time that we're talking about it. So my understanding is last month was more of a filler. Listen, this is a project. It's kind of, I don't even know that you'd say it's on the front burner.
Well, actually, we tackled the Berwyn Village last year with this full intent that PBO would be next.
Yeah.
So it was always planned to go. The recommendation from the township manager was to do one at a time and then go to the next one. So it was certainly next in line to go do Devon. We have talked about why not just eliminate warehouses, why not just eliminate car dealerships and things like that. And we just, for some reason, don't do it. There's good reasons, don't get me wrong, there's not bad reasons, you know, do it as part of an overall comprehensive approach rather than piecemeal zoning, I think is the main reason for that. And then with that in mind, you run the risk that Bill points out, you could get what you have on the books today built in the interim. When we hear from builders, you know, they're not saying, boy, I want to build a restaurant in Devon, I just, you know, why don't you guys help me out? That's not what you're saying. You know, they're sitting around saying, I want to build a 120 unit apartment building.
That's why we're here.
And if they own the land already, they'll sit around and wait until somebody says, yeah, that's a great idea on the other side of the table. So, yeah, we need to get the zoning to match up with the intentions, but it's not as straightforward as sitting down and just taking a red line and going through and saying, let's get rid of car dealerships. So, but the plan is to look at it smartly. You know, 2 weeks ago or 2 meetings ago, we talked about just take the village and say, replace the PBO with that. And that's not something you want to just go do. So we had a couple of weeks to toss that around, and, you know, so we're rethinking it all the time. And I think what came out of that was what exactly did happen. And this is so timely to get this, you know, and the one thing that I heard you say about the architecture, design or whatever, the features of a building, I think that's, you know, that's really what helps define the neighborhood look that can tie all the different uses together, you know. And there's so many towns in the country that are like that, and I travel quite a bit, and you can see them right away, and you can see the ones that don't have it. So I think, you know, as we look at everything in addition to what can be built, we really need to put a, you know, almost a historical committee viewpoint on the building structure itself, because otherwise, maybe we have great uses, but they all look disparate and end up with King of Prussia. You know, nice buildings, Who the hell wants to go to King of
Yeah,
Prussia?
and you'll see some of the stuff from Thurkov, started down that road, so these are things you should be
Right,
considering.
that's nice.
And it
to
just
have.
kind of ran out of steam at the end of
Yeah.
that process, so that, we would welcome that opportunity
And just to
to
clarify.
have that
something,
discussion.
Just to clarify something, this isn't, I said, we're in the very preliminary stages of looking
Yes.
at this. This is something that I think all of us agree that we need to do though.
Oh, yeah,
It's
we-
something that.
Right,
Plan to do it.
We
Yeah.
plan to do it because in the meantime, we run the risk of more.
I think we'd all agree, the current zoning code and all this work that was done.
Yeah.
Are not on the same page.
Yeah.
We'd like to merge those.
So we prioritize Berwin Village, because we had the PBO conversation day one that Bill and I started. I remember with the first meeting, I think we talked about Devon.
It was
and-
part,
Yeah,
and Berwin, yeah.
yeah, Berwin
Parking,
together, right, it's parking and Berwin,
Berwin.
and we chose to go down Berwin first, and I don't recall what the reason was, but we did. And then
There was
there
more
was
consensus on,
Okay,
it was
but to go,
fine tuning
right?
around
Yeah,
the
right to go.
frontages, not, this is a different plan,
Yeah.
different type of.
So I think we're right on track, it takes a while. But it's great to have this information summarized like this, where you can tab through it and see what was done. I have read the comprehensive plan, I think this is a very nice supplement document to it.
Okay, we have a public comment online.
Eric, can you hear me?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, great. A lot of great discussion tonight. I really appreciate it. Sorry, just for the record, Eric Unger, East End resident. I just want to point out that, I think as far as the board is concerned, it'll provide direction to the PC if it wants the PC to explore the various zoning options for Devon. I think it's one of the things that has been discussed is the Studebaker building. And, at the end of the day, we're kind of beholden to whatever the developer who owns it wants to do with it. And that's kind of where I think we're stuck. They had a plan, that plan was approved. They opted not to develop it for whatever reason. But I think as a general whole, I think it's worth noting for the PC that the board will help provide direction for you guys for things that we want you to explore. Going back to a previous comment, sidewalks are a big issue for the township and something that we're looking to develop upon. And I just wanted to kind of defend the PC a little bit because I know you guys went through a very rigorous process, which included looking at the Devon Elementary School as an option for exploring sidewalks. And that really sidewalks are kind of like you kind of have to figure out your best spots and kind of work your way to the best spots for those sidewalks. And you guys have done a commendable job in that area. But I just wanted to add that as a comment and, just let you guys know that the board will provide you with direction to the extent that we want you to explore any zoning changes to the Devon area. And I just want to share that. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Anybody else have any public comment?
Yeah, Margaret Alessandra, I really appreciate the openness to this discussion. And please indulge us because at one meeting in 2011, the underlying density requirements in Berwin were wiped out. And within years, we had the Fritz and we have Berwin Square, okay? So we're not overreacting here.
I understand. And that won't happen. Okay, I mean, does anybody else in the board have anything to say or good till the next meeting?
Yeah, no, we appreciate the feedback.
Thank you.
All right, let me see. Announcements, the next meeting is Tuesday, March 4th.
Good.
Great. Ready to motion to adjourn?
That's it, sure.
Go
Birds.
All about it.
Go Birds.
You change the changeable letter sign on the plaza every day.
4 days to go.
Yeah, I know.
5 days, whatever it is.
Parking are, I say,